All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episode 8, the Season 3 finale of Amazon's The Boys, entitled The Instant White Hot Wild. I don't know what's up with this title. I feel like a lot of the titles this season haven't really made any sense. You can't watch the episode and figure out the title. I don't really know what that's about. I'm assuming it's something that's tied to the comic books, like a line that's in the comic, or an episode, a title of a comic, something like that. I don't know what that's about. But I thought this episode was a solid finale. It had a lot of things that I liked. It had some stuff I didn't like, but I do feel like they kind of paid off some of the stuff that they were setting up. It just wasn't as impactful of a finale, I think, as last season's. It wasn't as good of an episode as the Herogasm episode. But like I said, there's some stuff I like. There's some stuff I didn't like. There's nothing that I disliked that I thought like, they fucked this up. But there's a couple things that I'm like, I don't really know about this. But the way I want to approach this episode, again, I kind of want to go character by character. And I think it works for this finale too, because there's so many character arcs that they set up throughout the season that they quote unquote pay off in this finale. And I think they're worth talking about because I think some of them worked really well and some of them didn't. So I'm going to start with Homelander. His whole arc this season revolved around his daddy issues. We see him, and I've talked about this throughout the season, this idea of his self-doubt that's surrounding the fact that, surrounding his desire to be loved. And you think about that, and look at what we've seen this season, and when you talk about him wanting to be loved, we've seen that the lack of a father figure in his life has really impacted him. He doesn't really know what it's like to be loved or admired, and he seeks that in others. And then we see him lash out. And he has this revelation kind of in this episode, kind of like look how I turned out without a father figure in my life when I could have had one. And I didn't know how I felt about the idea of a redemption arc for Homelander. And I don't even think we really get that here. We just get kind of like a little bit of I think for him, a realization of what he wants to be as it pertains to being a father. And I think briefly for a moment, as it pertained to being a son. But I didn't expect that sort of angle to play out, but I think they did it well, and I think they set it up. And like I said, they set it up via all of his self-doubt issues and working with his lack of a father figure. But, once he finds out that he could have had one, I think that's what helps motivate him to respond differently to Ryan. He finds out Soulja Boy is quote-unquote his father, whether or not you take that seriously or not, I don't. But whatever he did, that's all that matters. He felt like, I could have had a father, and Vought kept this from me. And now look how I turned out. What if I had been told that Soulja Boy existed and he's thinking like this is somebody I can build a relationship with? Maybe he turns out differently and he's not as needing of affection. And that's something that's played out for him throughout the run of the show. You think about his relationship with, what was her name? Elizabeth Shue's character, the one drinking the breast milk, all of that. You think about those relationships and it shows you that Homelander is somebody who has really suffered from that lack of a father figure. And then you have the opening scene in this episode, which at first I'm kind of like, what the fuck is this? But as this conversation with Ryan plays out, and you see him kind of like making an effort for Ryan to not be like him. When you're this powerful, you're going to make mistakes, and they can be damaging mistakes, but I understand. I'm always going to be here for you. That sort of validation that he didn't get, he then gives to Ryan. And then you juxtapose that with the person who is supposed to be Ryan's father figure, Butcher, who told him like fuck off, or whatever episode that is. And if you're a kid and you've got these powers and you have this guy who's was gonna be with your mother, he's supposed to be your father figure, he tells you to fuck off, but then you got the guy who is like you, who also has powers, and he comes along and he's like, I understand who you are, I understand how you feel, and I'm always going to be there to support you. That, I thought they played that out really well. The juxtaposition of Butcher as a father figure to Ryan versus Homelander, and how that played out for Homelander at the end of this episode. And I think that's why we end up with at the end, when you couple that with, after Ryan got hit by Soulja Boy, Homelander is leaving himself defenseless to kind of like check on Ryan. He's sitting there like a father figure. Meanwhile, Butcher is over there trying to fuck shit up, so that when Ryan does come to, and Ryan does understand everything that happened, Ryan now makes the choice that makes sense for Ryan and that makes sense for the story, which is like, I'm gonna roll with Homelander. Like, he's there for me. He understands me. He knows what this is like. Butcher never comes around, told me to fuck off, wasn't concerned for me when I got hit. And I think all of that played out really, really well. I bought it, and I thought it was really good stuff, like the father figure stuff, and then comparing Butcher and Homelander. I think it worked really well. Yeah, that's all I had for Homelander for now. I have a little bit more for Homelander later, but Soulja Boy, they also played up daddy issues with. And I feel like this doesn't work quite as well as the Homelander stuff because they kind of like set it up and paid it off in this one episode. You know, we have the scene where Soulja Boy's talking to Butcher about his father, and his father, you know, constantly saying like, you're not good enough, I'm disappointed in you, you ain't shit. All of this kind of like negative energy that he sent toward Soulja Boy, to the point where Soulja Boy used that for motivation. You know, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna join Vought, I'm gonna get powers, I'm gonna become famous, I'm gonna become wealthy, a whole big shot. And then just to impress his father, and then his father goes, yeah, well, you fucking cheated. And so we then see, and this felt more heavy-handed and not as nuanced as the Homelander / Butcher father figure stuff, but we later see Homelander trying to connect. And he's like, you know, we could form a team, you know, it could be the three of us. Here's your grandson. You know, we can all join together and be a team. And Soulja Boy then does the same thing to Homelander that his father did to him, calls him a pussy and a disappointment, and maybe if I had raised you, you wouldn't have been such a bitch. Like all of this kind of stuff. And I like the fact that they did play out that arc, but it's just hard to buy it when you play it out all in one episode. It's like, okay, that calls back to what I just saw 20 minutes ago, as opposed to Homelander stuff kind of calling back to everything that we've seen throughout these first 3 seasons. But I did like how that played out. I thought that was interesting to see Soulja Boy take that approach with Homelander. But I mean, it was fairly by the books, I think, what we got with Soulja Boy toward the end there. Like, very predictable. Like, you could have looked at that and be like, yeah, he's going to treat Homelander like shit. Like, if you're watching that scene and you didn't think that was coming, then you weren't paying attention. Because he's being nice and shit at the beginning of it. I'm like, yeah, he's about to call him a put. I literally had, like, in my mind, and I was kind of high, so I said it out loud anyway. I'm like, he's going to call him a pussy in a minute. And sure enough, that's what happened. So pretty predictable, but at least it made sense, given that character. Moving on to Butcher, I think the show continues to kind of like muddy the waters regarding whether or not Butcher is a good guy or a bad guy. And I think, you know, Huey clearly believes that he is. And I think deep down, Butcher has goodness in him. But at the end of the day, every time somebody tries to give Butcher the benefit of the doubt, he stabs him in the back. And, you know, give you an example. You know, Huey has his whole little speech about how he thinks Butcher deep down is a good guy, and then Butcher's like, yeah, fuck off, go get in the safe. We're about to go fuck up Soulja Boy anyway, give a fuck who's in that tower. We're gonna lock you guys off, and that's it. Huey's looking at him like, you know, I just said that I believed in you as a good guy, and you're gonna do this. And then when they get out, you know, as they're all about to leave, Huey finds some of that Temp B on the floor in the same spot that him and Butcher were conversing, and that led me to believe, again, I was high at the time, so I'm not 100% sure, but I took away from that Butcher possibly left that there intentionally. Kind of like, hey, if you're going to come along, here's some Temp V for you when you catch up. And that could be looked at as like, oh, Butcher, you know, even though he put him in the safe, he left him some Temp V just in case. But at the same time, it's like, you never told him that it could kill him. You still haven't told him that. He knows it at this point, but it's only because Starlight told him. So it's like, is this a good guy or not? Like, it's like, you know, yeah, I expect you to get out, and if you get out of the safe, here's something to help you out. And somebody as gullible as Huey might look at that and go, oh, Butcher really does care. And I'm sitting there like, he still ain't even told you that the shit could kill you. Like, you know, Huey had the whole conversation with Starlight about that, and he's like, oh man, Butcher saved me by knocking me out. He stopped me from taking more V. Like, that's how you, like, that's the rose-tinted glasses that Huey sees Butcher through. Like, no, he didn't save you by knocking you. Well, maybe he did, but he could have really saved you by telling you that it could kill you, which he purposely didn't do. So it's like, Butcher really told the line with Butcher as it pertains to whether or not he's an asshole or not. And he's very clearly an asshole, but I think he struggles with that deep down of whether or not to be a good guy or not. And I think they've done a good job of showing that the hesitance that he would have given everything that played out with his little brother. So like they've sold me on that. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do with Butcher going forward. You know, he's told at the end that he's got 12 to 18 months to live. I think that they should play out that 12 to 18 months and have that be the end of the show. So like maybe if you do like season 4 is the last season, and then you say have a 6-month time jump, he's got 6 to 12 months to live, and they play that out over the course of the final season, Butcher dies or something like that. I feel like that would be a fitting end for the show. What they also could and might do is just have him take regular fucking V, just like everybody else, and that heals him, plus makes him like a permanent hero, a permanent superpowered person, because he sure as fuck would not be a hero. But that could add some interesting complexity to it if Butcher is now not only healthy, but healthy and permanently powered. Now they would have 2 powered people, well 3 technically, if you count Kamiko, and why wouldn't you? So 3 powered people on the team, because Starlight joins the team at the end of the episode. Huey, like I mentioned, he believes in Butcher to a fault. He rationalized that Butcher saved him, which was ridiculous. But I like that the Huey arc where he gets over his own self-doubt, you know, with taking the Temp V, like, oh, I have to save my girlfriend. The fact that he felt emasculated being saved by his girlfriend all the time. He's like, well, I want to be able to save her. And she gave him shit about that. Like, you don't have to do that. So when he saw her looking like she was about to get obliterated by Soulja Boy, he thinks about taking the V. Like, I can do this and I can go save her. But then he does the right thing. I don't need to save her. I can help her. I can support her. And he turns up the lights to help power her up. And that worked out well. So I thought that was a good moment for Huey. That was an arc that played out well and ended well over the course of the season. I'm going to get into some of the lesser stuff. Those are the big things. You know, Homelander, Soulja Boy, Butcher, Huey. Those are the kind of big things I want to talk about. But now I want to talk about some of the lesser things that kind of closed out the season. Mother's Milk, I'm still going to go by character. Mother's Milk, he essentially fully shares his struggle with his daughter. After being advised by Frenchie to do so, he's like, you know, show her who you are fully. And he does that. He explains what Soulja Boy did to their family. She tells him that he's her hero. And I think that works out pretty well. So that's a good way to close that arc for him. He's still going to have to deal with his hangups with Soulja Boy, who appears to still be alive. So that can be a good season 4 arc. But so far, I think it ended fairly well for him. Frenchie and Kamiko. Frenchie gets tired of Butcher pushing him around, which I thought was a nice little scene where he was like proud of himself for standing up to Butcher. Kamiko goes full Kamiko when Frenchie's working on the nerve agent and the soldiers come in and she turns up to the Maniac song. I thought that was pretty cool. I could have used a little bit more of it. Like, I felt like it was a little shorter than it needed to be, but I liked it. But what I didn't like is their heartfelt moments where they have these conversations where like, oh, I'm a piece of shit. No, you're not. You're great. I'm done with those. They don't work for me. Their relationship doesn't even really work for me. I don't really care about it. I don't know. I didn't really need that, but unfortunately, I got it anyway. Now I want to talk about the remaining members of the 7. First, well, I guess technically this is not a remaining member of the 7. I want to talk about Black Noir's death. I didn't like Black Noir's death because I liked it visually, and I thought it was a pretty shocking moment. But killing off Black Noir after last week's episode where he's dealing with like, okay, this is what happened to me in my past. This is what I'm running from. Okay, I need to get past this. I need to go back, and I need to, you know, put my big boy pants on, and we need to team up, and we need to fight Soulja Boy. I think like him dying like that because he didn't tell Homelander about Soulja Boy, it made everything that preceded it pointless. And that's what bothered me about it. It was a shot. It was like they gave the arc the wrong ending because they wanted to give shock value. Like, let's have Homelander punch a hole in this guy for not telling him, which is true to Homelander's character. But now I'm watching it like he had this whole thing where he had to get over what happened to him and had to, you know, find a place to, you know, reach deep down and go fight Soulja Boy just for him to ultimately get killed before he does anything. Like, I don't like when I feel like I went through a whole experience on a show for nothing. Like, there was no point to it. Like, he ended up dead before he could even do anything. So, like, and Black Noir is such a cool character. Like, if he was gonna die off, I have no problem with him dying off. But I wish it could have been during a battle with Soulja Boy or something like that, where you get over your issues, you go back to get back on the team, you go fight him, you end up dying, but at least you got past your issues. Whereas, like, he got past the issues and died before he even had a chance to actually display that he got past his issues. So not a big fan of that. I thought the scene with A-Train and his brother was interesting. I don't really know how I feel about it because I don't feel like they've really given A-Train enough screen time, enough of attention to his story arc to make that feel as impactful as it should have been. I think they played that like we're gonna look at it like, oh man, this is terrible. It's hard for me to feel for A-Train when I don't see A-Train enough, and we're just seeing him kind of just popping up here or there, getting one scene an episode, and then they want to pay off this arc with his brother shitting on him like this, and you feel kind of bad because he's apologizing, and I say over the course of the past 2-3 episodes, ever since Herogasm, he's been kind of like on this apology tour almost, like trying to make things right and be less shitty of a guy. And now I'm wondering if this is going to make him a dick again. I feel like it probably will, but I think I was meant to feel more in that scene than I actually felt. Maeve, pointless. She seems to be depowered and leaving to go live on a farm or some shit. I don't give a fuck. Like, Maeve has not been given enough attention. She's a completely uninteresting character. I'm fine if she's written off the show at this point. Like, the idea of giving Maeve powers again and bringing her back into the fold, and now she's here with one eye, and I don't give a fuck. Like, Maeve can be gone. A very underserved character. Same for the Deep. Completely fucking pointless. He didn't even need to be on the show this season. We see his wife shitting on him on TV. I'm like, I don't care. They gave him an interesting moment where he got to kill this potential VP candidate, and that was the most interesting thing he got to do. We ain't even get to see him actually do it. So it's like, I don't care about Deep. I only care about Deep in the fact that I feel bad that actor has to do this role and they don't give him shit to do other than fuck fish. Like, wow, man, they don't do shit for this character. And a couple of notes to close out. So, like I just mentioned, Deep killed this, I forget his name. Whatever. Kills this guy who's potentially supposed to be on the ticket for vice president. Deep kills this guy at the orders of Homelander. We didn't hear it at the time. We see Homelander whisper something to Deep. He goes, well, that's treasonous. And he's like, yeah, whatever, do it. And he does it. And we come to find out that was done so that Newman could replace this guy on the ticket. So we could potentially have a superpowered head popper as vice president of the United States, which is an interesting story arc for her going forward. Speaking of her, I don't like the fact that we never saw Stan Edgar again. Like, after he was sent out, which was probably episode 4 maybe, I thought he was going to come back at some point, or like he was playing the long game, he was going to come back triumphantly. We do not see him again, and that's really weird. I like Stan Edgar, but he got virtually no time this season, and then he was gone. And I don't know about that. How are the remaining members of the 7, which at this point has got to be like the 4 or the 3? Really, who is it now? Deep, Homelander. Is that it? Starlight's gone. Maeve's gone. Black Noir's dead. Okay, A-Train. That might be it. Just those 3. Wow. But how are they going to look at Homelander now they know he killed Black Noir? That could be interesting. Could just be... The 7 might not be a thing anymore. It might just be individuals doing what they need to do to survive, or doing what they need to do in order to, forward whatever it is that they're trying to... whatever goal they're trying to achieve, as opposed to the boys versus the 7. Like I mentioned earlier, Starlight appears to have joined the boys. That's interesting. They now have 3 powered people on their team. That's good. Could end up with a 4th. Wait, I said 3 powered people. Starlight, Kamiko, and that's it. Potentially Butcher, I guess. Lastly, I thought this was entertaining. They continue to really push this correlation between Homelander and Donald Trump. They end the episode... I don't know if this is the very end, but Homelander goes to speak to these fans. They look very MAGA. You see a whole lot of flags, whole lot of red. They really want you to associate these people with Trump fans. He brings in Ryan, and there's a protester there. Those people are protesting Starlight at the time that he arrives. Then there's a counter protester there who throws a rock at Ryan. Like, okay, well, I hope he meant to hit Homelander and just missed. But like, how are you there to protest that and you throw a rock at his kid? Like, what the fuck? But hits Ryan with this rock. Homelander lasers like half of his head off. Whatever. And then everyone cheers. And they've been very heavy-handed with how they're trying to correlate Homelander with Trump. But that reminded me of that clip or something, or I can't remember if it was something that he did live on TV, but whatever it was, there was like a clip of Donald Trump essentially saying that he could shoot somebody in the street and his people would still fuck with him. Like, that was this. Like, and Homelander now knowing that he can do stuff like that and will still get the support. Like, they're very, like, really trying to align the show with what's happening present day, because that's what they're looking like. They're building up things where it's like, it seems like Trump can get away with anything and he'll still have fervent support. And if you don't support him, he will fuck you over. And that's exactly what they're doing with Homelander. Like, he's got his base who will support him clearly no matter what he does. If he lasers somebody's head off, his base will still support him. And he can parlay that. So I think we're going to have an interesting kind of like off-the-leash kind of Homelander next year, but who still will now have a young mind that he can manipulate and control, who will be maybe not as powerful as him, but probably more powerful than a lot of other people. So that'll be an interesting arc to see next year as well. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Again, solid episode. Not the best, but had a lot of good stuff that I think paid off. Set up some good stuff for next year. And I will see you guys next year or next season, whenever it comes out. And until then, peace.